Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you for coming to this presentation. I am very glad to have you all as my audience. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Mulyati Yunus. I am a lecturer in Department of Radiology and Maxillofacial, Faculty of Dentistry, Hasanuddin University. In this presentation, I would like to present about palatal rugae anatomy based on classification of Thomas and Kotze as a media in cell human identification. Introduction. In this introduction, we will discuss about forensic odontology. Exactly, what is forensic odontology itself? Well, this forensic odontology consists of three words, namely odons, which mean tooth, logos, which mean science, and forensic, which mean judiciary. So, in general, it can be interpreted that forensic odontology is a science that discusses teeth in the interest of the judiciary or identifying themselves in human. I think those few explanations could give some recall about forensic odontology. For the next, I would like to give some explanation why palatal rugae can use as a media in self-human identification. Well, why use palatal rugae? The palatal rugae can be used as an alternative method for comparison at time when identification of an individual by fingerprints or dental record comparison is difficult and post-mortem dental identification is not possible as in odontology mode. Palatal rugae is one part of the structure of the oral cavity consisting of the fall of the mucosa and growth signs the intrauterine, which has a distinctive shape on each individual and certainly has another uniqueness that will be explained in the next slide. Palatal rugae is unique. The uniqueness is this palatal rugae has some that make indistinctive in each individual. Based on some literature that explain the anatomy of this palatal rugae, that there is a uniqueness such as the first, anatomical shapes and typical size. Different anatomical shapes and size in individual. The second, the structure of rugae will never cross the median ref. Structure never cross the median ref. The third, will no longer experience any change in shape after a person turns 10 years old. Doesn't not change shape after 10 years of age. Therefore, anterior rugae is more prominent than rugae in posterior because during the process of fusion palatina structure on the posterior part will tend to be lost in the anterior parts. 5. Resistant to thermal, chemical, and trauma. Resistant to thermal and chemical trauma, one of the study also maintained that in cadaver combustion trial white level 3 obtained that the structure of Palatal Rugae didn't undergo any shape change. And the 6, growing the flowing, developing in the 12th week of intrauterine. And after the act of growth and development at 10 years to 18 years will no longer experience any change of shapes. This is what makes Palatal Rugae very potentially used as a media to identify person. To identify Palatal Rugae itself, some technique that can be used, such as doing photos and intraoral examination directly. But of course, this technique is not very effective because it will not obtain secondary data. One of the other techniques is the perform printing or so-called rugoscopy. Technique is accurate because it prints the oral cavity with a model and can be used as a data secondary of medical record. In perform the identification of Palatal Rugae can be used by the method of classification system Thomas and Kotze. The form of the anatomy of Palatal Rugae to identify themselves that can be done by rugoscopy method. This classification system divides several forms on the Palatal Rugae. This is in imprint. This is imprint of the maxillofacial, the shape of Palatal Rugae. You can see. More detail will be described in the following slide. Based on the classification of Thomas and Kotze is devised the form namely divergent, convergent, curve, and the wavy, and then straight and circular. Based on the classification of the Palatal Rugae form can be basis for self-identification in individual and population. Okay, next discussion literature review. In this discussion, using secondary data of literature review obtained from various sources such as secondary data from literature study such as Google Scholar, Science Direct, Elsevier, Scopus, and PubMed and CBI. White is descriptively analysis by exposing and comparing the result of research on the potential of palatal rugae in human self-identification based on the Thomas and Kotze classification. Now I will describe some of research that have been held in various countries regarding to the use of palatal rugae as a media in self-human identification. The first research, based on the result of literature review written by Malik Sadeh, Rad 2018, explained from the result of the study in individuals on Sudan. White result on the identification of individual obtained. This is obtained curve form that is dominant in male, wavy form in female. So, in general, that the result of the research obtained is the form of the become the dominant is curve in wavy form. Another study from Sasena 2015 that assess anatomical form of palatal rugae in women, men and transgender. From the result of this study obtained the result of the first anatomical form of palatal rugae compared among women who have dominant curve or compared to males. Furthermore, between men and transgender people it is obtained that the wavy form to transgender is dominant compared to men. Furthermore, the research conducted by Gadis Serla 2020 was conducted research on the children aged 14 to 16 years in India. From the research obtained that dominant form in males in wavy in dominant form is female in curve, based on individual identification. So, in general also that on the result of this article is wavy and curve form being dominant. Next, in this discussion, we will discuss about palatal rugae based on population or trip. From the result of article the examined, the first is Hasanuddin 2015, which conduct research of the population of West India and Northern India. The result obtained is the dominant form is West India in straight female and male is wavy, whereas in North India female are curved and wavy males. Furthermore, an article examines also against the population by race 2016, I look at the comparison of Indian population in Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. From the result of his study obtained the result that dominant form of Palatal Rugae in the population Andhra Pradesh is strike and the Odisha population is Wafi. Furthermore, from an article written by Savita, JK 2016, which conduct a comparative assessment of India's population in Kerala and Karnataka. From the result of this research, obtained result of Rugae form in Kerala Wafi population and Karnataka is carved in between curve and strike also the same, so it can be concluded that from this article the dominant anatomical form in this population is curve and strike. In summary, we can conclude that thus, from various article discussion, the form of palatal rugae to be as self-identification, either individually or on broad scale. The population came to the conclusion that first, palatal rugae have its characteristic on individuals. Second, rugoscopy became a fairly effective technique in forensic odontology. And rugoscopy techniques are able to identify individual up to the scale of population. And general rugoscopy technique become one of the aspects that can be used in forensic odontology. Well, that's all about my presentation. Next, if there are some questions, feel free to send to be my email. You can see my email address right in this slide. And thank you very much for your great attention, ladies and gentlemen. May all those I just have shared could be beneficial for all of us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.